Dreams are one of the few experiences we all share, yet they remain one of the least understood parts of being human. They can be strange, comforting, unsettling, or downright confusing, and every now and then they raise questions we weren't planning to ask. One of those questions is, can two people really share a dream? Maybe you've heard stories about couples meeting inside the same dream. Maybe someone once told you that they dream of you on the exact same night you dream of them. Or maybe you've experienced that odd moment when someone else's dream sounds just a little too close to your own. Shared dreams sit in a strange space between science and mystery. They're not confirmed by research, but they're not easily dismissed either because people across cultures, families, and centuries have stories that feel too aligned to ignore. Today, we're taking a deeper look into this phenomenon, what science has discovered, what people have reported, and how different cultures have understood dream connections long before modern sleep studies existed. Before we begin, welcome back to the Little Weird Podcast. I'm Jane, your curator and host, and you're listening to our special year-ender journey, 12 Weird Nights, a collection of stories exploring the curious, the forgotten, and the beautifully strange moments that glow in the hush just before the year's end. If you're new in the podcast, this is where we explore the odd, the curious, and the almost explainable one story at a time. And if you've been with me for a while, I'm glad you're here again, wandering into another strange corner of the universe with me. So, settle in, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's topic. Before we dive into the details, let's start with what we do know. Shared dreams, in simple terms, refer to situations where two or more people claim to have had the same or very similar dream content. This can include identical scenes, matching events, similar symbols, or the presence of the same people or places. In some cases, people even believe they interacted with one another inside the dream. It's important to understand that shared dreams can be described in very different ways depending on the person reporting them. Some experiences are subtle, like two people dreaming about the same location. Others are more specific, involving conversations or coordinated actions inside the dream itself. Now, before we explore the science behind dreams, it helps to categorize the different ways people typically describe shared dream experiences. First is the coincidental similarity. This is the most common type. Do people dream of the same things like water, storms, or a specific place without any communication or intentional planning? Often, they only realize the similarity after comparing notes. Second is the parallel dream scenarios. These involve more specific overlaps, such as both dreamers being in the same setting or facing the same event. And third is the mutual dream encounters. These are the most dramatic reports, where two people claim they saw each other inside the dream and interacted. And fourth is the intentional shared dream attempts. Some people try to meet in dreams on purpose, usually through lucid dreaming techniques or simple agreements like, let's try to meet at this location tonight. Not all of these experiences are accepted in scientific research, but they form the foundation of why the idea of shared dreaming continues to fascinate people. Shared dreams occupy a space where psychology, human connection, and cultural belief systems overlap. And understanding the phenomenon starts with looking at how dreams themselves are formed and how our minds interpret them. When people talk about shared dreams, conversation usually shifts very quickly into mystery, intuition, or the paranormal. But before we explore those areas, it's important to understand what science currently knows about dreams and what it says about the possibility of two people dreaming the same thing at the same time. Let's start with the basics. So, let's start on how dreams are formed. From a neuroscientific perspective, dreams are created internally by the brain, especially during a stage of sleep called REM or rapid eye movement sleep. This is the period when brain activity becomes almost as active as wakefulness. The mind processes memories, emotions, stress, and random neural firing, and all of that becomes the raw material for dreams. Because dreams are shaped by your own brain activity, your own memories, personal fears, and emotional state, the scientific assumption is this: two people cannot naturally generate the same dream because their brains don't share the same internal data. There's no known structure or biological pathway that connects the dreaming brain of one person to the dreaming brain of another. Our brains are physically separate systems. So, from a purely biological standpoint, shared dreams shouldn't be possible. That's the theory. But of course, theories get challenged. So, the question is, have scientists ever tried to test shared dreams? Surprisingly, yes. In fact, several researchers have attempted to see whether dream communication could happen or whether information can pass between two dreaming minds. Let's look at the most famous attempts. The Maimonides dream telepathy experiments. In the 1960s and 70s, a team at the Maimonides Medical Center in New York ran a series of experiments on what they called dream telepathy. The setup was simple but creative. A sender stayed awake in one room, focusing on a specific image or painting. A receiver slept in another room while researchers monitored their eye movements. Whenever the sleeper entered REM, they were gently awakened and asked to describe their dreams. Some of the dream reports included images and themes that were surprisingly close to the target image. These results were interesting enough that they're still talked about today. However, this part is important. Other researchers could not consistently replicate the findings. When the experiments were repeated under stricter conditions, the effects disappeared. Because of this, the scientific community concluded that the evidence wasn't strong enough to support dream telepathy. In short, intriguing? Yes. Scientifically accepted? No. The REM Space Experiment 2024. Another experiment made headlines in 2024. A California based startup called REM Space claimed they achieved something groundbreaking. Two lucid dreamers allegedly transmitted a word from one dream to another. Here's what was reported. A sleeping participant heard a spoken word through headphones. They repeated the word inside their lucid dream. Then, a second sleeper supposedly recognized or received the same word in their dream. If proven, that would be the first documented case of dream to dream information transfer. But there's a catch, actually, several. First, the experiment has not been independently verified. Second, it has not been peer reviewed. Third, no researchers outside the company have reproduced the results. And lastly, neuroscientists remain skeptical due to lack of published data. So, scientifically speaking, the claim remains unproven, even though it captured public attention. The more likely explanation: psychology. If shared dreams aren't supported by biology or verified experimentation, then why do so many people report them? Psychologists offer explanations that don't require supernatural or unknown mechanisms. Here are the most common ones. First is coincidence. People who live together or who share routines, stressors, and environments may dream about similar themes simply because their waking lives overlap. Second is shared external triggers. Sounds, temperature changes, or even the timing of waking up can influence dream content in similar ways. For example, both people hearing a car alarm at 3 a.m. might integrate that sound into their dreams, leading to overlapping dream scenes. Third is memory blending. When two people describe their dreams to each other, memories are flexible enough that details can unintentionally shift or align. Dream memories fade quickly, so even a few minutes of discussions can reshape them. Fourth is emotional closeness. This one is interesting. A 2017 study found that almost all reports of shared dreams, about 96%, came from people who were emotionally close, such as couples, siblings, or close friends. This suggests that the feeling of dreaming together might be a reflection of emotional intimacy rather than actual dream telepathy. In short, psychology views shared dreams as a combination of coincidence, environment, memory, and emotional connections, not actual communication. So, what science concludes so far? To summarize the scientific position, dreams are individual brain events. No biological mechanism supports dream to dream communication. Experiments attempting to prove telepathic dreaming have not been successfully replicated. Most shared dream reports can be explained through psychological factors. But science doesn't close the door completely because dream research is still evolving. But at least for now, there is no verified evidence that two people can literally share the same dream. Now that we've covered the scientific perspective, let's move to an area where things become more complicated: people's lived experiences. Even though science hasn't verified shared dreaming, many people, from strangers online to documented cases in psychical research, describe experiences that feel like two minds somehow overlap during sleep. These stories aren't scientific evidence, but they are important because they shape how humans understand dreams, connection, and consciousness. In this section, we'll look at some of the most common types of shared dream reports and what makes them compelling. First case is family dreams during grief or loss. One of the most frequently reported forms of shared dream occurs after the death of a family member or loved one. A typical case looks like this. A relative passes away. On the same night, multiple family members dream of the deceased. The dream often includes the same message or the same scene, like the relative appearing healthy, smiling, or saying a short phrase of comfort. These experiences are powerful and emotionally meaningful. From a psychological standpoint, families share the same stressor and the same emotional context, which can lead to similar dream themes. But to those who experience it, the timing and matching details feel too coordinated to be coincidence. So these dreams are often interpreted as spiritual or symbolic. Second case is couples having matching dream scenes. Another well documented pattern involves couples. Partners sometimes report dreaming of the same place, meeting each other inside the dream, or continuing a recurring dream narrative over multiple nights. In one frequently cited case, a couple claimed they had repeated dream adventures together. They would wake up and compare notes, discovering that their dreams included matching locations and similar sequences of events. Psychologists explain this by pointing to shared routines, shared stressors, and shared environments. Two people who sleep beside each other, live together, and share many life experiences may naturally develop overlapping dream imagery. Still, from the perspective of those couples, the consistency of the details feels like mutual dreaming. Third case is friends attempting dream experiments. Some of the most interesting anecdotal reports involve friends who intentionally try to meet in a dream or exchange information. These cases are rare but widely shared in paranormal communities. A well known example goes like this. Two close friends believe they frequently appeared in each other's dream. To test this, they each picked a secret message. One chose an obscure lyric, the other chose a nonsense phrase. They agreed to try to give these messages to each other inside their dreams. The next morning, they exchanged what they heard in their dreams. Each friend reported receiving the other's exact phrase. This type of story is impossible to verify after the fact, and memory errors can easily occur. But the level of detail makes it one of the more striking anecdotal claims in the dream telepathy conversation. Next case is reports collected by early psychical researchers. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, organizations like the Society of Psychical Research or SPR and the American Society for Psychical Research or ASPR documented dozens of shared dream reports. Many cases followed similar patterns. Person A dreams of person B in unusual setting. Person B independently dreams of person A on the same night. Sometimes the dreams included parallel scenes or emotional tones. These early researchers didn't prove anything conclusively, but they took the reports seriously. The records showed that shared dream claims are not new. They've been circulating for more than a century. And another case is the paranormal interpretation. In paranormal and spiritual communities, shared dreams are often interpreted differently. It can be telepathic dreaming. Some people believe the mind is more open during sleep, making it easier to send or receive impressions. Second is the dream realm as a shared space. Certain spiritual traditions view dreams as a non physical plane or field of consciousness that people can enter together. And lastly, is afterlife communication. Shared dreams after a death are sometimes treated as messages from the deceased, especially when multiple people receive the same symbol or phrase. Science can confirm these interpretations, but it also can't fully eliminate them because dream experiences are subjective and difficult to measure externally. So, why these stories matter? Even though anecdotal reports aren't scientific evidence, they tell us something important. Shared dream stories are consistent across cultures, decades, and communities. People from different backgrounds describe surprisingly similar experiences: family dreams during grief, couple dreams, dream meetings with friends, and uncanny coincidences. These stories matter because they reveal how humans interpret connection, coincidence, and meaning. They also reveal a gap between what people experience and what science can currently explain. So, while the scientific position is cautious, the human experience remains rich, varied, and often mysterious. Shared dreams may sound unusual from a modern scientific perspective, but historically, many cultures treated them as completely normal or even expected. Long before psychology and neuroscience existed, dreams were seen as messages, warnings, or shared experiences that connected individuals or entire communities. In this part, we'll look at how different cultures understood shared dreams, why they believed these dream connections were significant, and the role they played in rituals, spirituality, and community life. In ancient societies like Egypt, Greece, and Mesopotamia, dreams were seen as a communications from gods or supernatural forces. If two people reported the same dream, it wasn't viewed as a coincidence. It was treated as a divine confirmation. In ancient Egypt, Egyptians kept dream books that listed symbols and interpretations. When two individuals dream of similar omens, priests often read this as a message meant for a whole community, not just the dreamers. In ancient Greece, dream temples known as Asclepions allowed people to sleep inside sacred spaces to receive messages through dreams. A shared dream between a priest and a visitor was seen as a powerful evidence that a god had delivered a unified message. And lastly, the role of interpreters. Shared dreams were considered especially meaningful because they suggest divine intention, not random imagery. Even though these beliefs weren't based on scientific understanding, they show that shared dreams were considered a legitimate form of communication thousands of years ago. Many indigenous cultures around the world view dreams not as a personal property but as collective experiences that can guide group decisions. The Iroquois or Haudenosaunee, for them, dream sharing was a daily practice. Members of the community recounted their dreams each morning. Dreams were seen as messages from the inner self or spiritual entities. If two people shared similar dreams, it was treated as a sign for the entire group, sometimes inspiring rituals, celebrations, or conflict resolution. Aboriginal Australians and the dream time. The dream time is a foundational spirit concept. Dreams are considered gateways to ancestral memories, creation stories, and spiritual knowledge. In some communities, it is accepted that individuals may access the same dream space or receive related visions from ancestral beings. Shared dreams reinforce community identity and spiritual community. These traditions showed that dreaming was treated as a communal resource, not just an individual experience. In Tibetan Buddhist practice, dreams are an extension of spiritual training. In dream yoga, practitioners train to remain aware inside their dreams, similar to lucid dreaming. The goal is to recognize the dream state and use it to gain insight into the nature of reality and reports of shared dream spaces. Although not experimentally verified, Tibetan texts describe advanced practitioners who could meet inside dream environments, receive teachings during dreams, or appear in the dreams of students. These accounts are spiritual, not scientific, but they demonstrate a long standing belief that dreams can be intentional meeting places for trained minds. Shared dreams also appear frequently in global folklore and storytelling. Let's talk about first the double dream motif. This is a common theme in European and Middle Eastern folktales. This is the idea of two strangers dreaming related or mirrored messages, often leading to a discovery, a journey, or an encounter with each other. And then there's the symbolic meaning. In folklore, shared dreams usually symbolize destiny, spiritual alignment, or hidden connections between characters. These stories aren't evidence of shared dreaming, but they show how deeply embedded the concept is in human imagination. And then let's talk about modern cultural interpretations. Even today, the belief in shared dreams persists in spiritual communities, online forums, paranormal groups, twin sibling anecdotes, and stories from people who experience intense emotional bonds. Shared dreams are often interpreted as a sign of emotional closeness, a message from a higher power, or a symbolic reflection of a relationship. While science doesn't endorse these interpretations, they remain meaningful to many people. But what do these cultural perspectives tell us? Across cultures, shared dreams have consistently been understood as a form of communication, a sign of connection, or an indicator of something beyond the physical world. Whether interpreted through religion, spirituality, or tradition, shared dreams have never been seen as isolated events. They've always carried a wider implication. The dreams are not purely private experiences, but part of a larger human or spiritual network. Even without scientific validation, the consistency of these beliefs across time and geography shows that humans have long felt that dreams can connect people in unexpected ways. At this point, we have explored what science can currently explain, the anecdotal stories people share, and the cultural traditions that treat shared dreams as normal. Now, we arrive at a space in between, where established research meets experiences that don't fit neatly into a scientific framework. In this section, we look at the possible mechanisms, the open questions, and why shared dreams continue to be a topic that challenges our understanding of consciousness. One important thing to understand is that dream science or oneirology is still a developing field. We know a lot about sleep stages, brain activation patterns, and memory formation, but we still have several major gaps. We cannot yet decode full dreams directly from the brain. We cannot track dreams in real time with precision. We cannot explain exactly how the brain generates complex dream narratives. If we still can't fully understand how individual dreams work, it's reasonable that we also can't fully explain why some dreams appear shared or synchronized. This is not the same as saying they happen literally, but it means there is still space for investigation. Even though dream sharing hasn't been proven, there is one area of research that scientists pay attention to: interpersonal neural synchrony. Studies have shown that people who are emotionally close, such as couples or close friends, can experience synchronized brainwave patterns during waking activities. Synchronization can occur during communication, music, meditation, and coordinated actions. Parents and infants have been shown to align their brain rhythms during bonding or shared attention. These findings don't prove shared dreaming, but they suggest the brain is capable of aligning with another person's brain under certain conditions. The question is whether something similar could happen during sleep. There's no data yet to support this, but researchers acknowledge the possibility is theoretically interesting, especially because emotional closeness has been linked to reports of shared dreams. Another important factor is how easily dream memories change. Dreams are fragmented, easily distorted, and heavily influenced by waking conversations. Two people might have dreamed differently but later reconstruct their dream in ways that overlap. This blending effect might explain many shared dream reports without requiring supernatural mechanisms. But it also means something important. Dreams exist at the intersection of biology and meaning. They are shaped by both the brain and the interpretation we attach to them. This makes shared dream experiences hard to measure but still psychologically significant. Occasionally, people suggest that shared dreams might be explained through quantum theories of consciousness, such as quantum entanglement of minds, non local information exchange, or consciousness existing beyond the physical brain. It's important to clarify these ideas are not supported by scientific evidence and are not taken as mainstream science. However, they do reflect a broader question that researchers and philosophers continue to explore. What is consciousness really? And is it limited to the individual brain? The question is still open. Even if shared dreams aren't literal, the idea carries psychological meaning. People who report shared dreams often describe feeling more connected to the person involved, finding comfort during grieving, resolving emotional tension, or understanding a relationship better. Whether the dream was actually shared or not, the experience of it can have real emotional impact. This is where science and mystery intersect. Science says the dreams are most likely separate events influenced by shared contexts. Human experience says the dreams felt connected and meaningful. Both perspectives can coexist. Shared dreams remain a compelling topic because they challenge assumptions about individuality and separation. They raise questions like how independent are our minds? Why do dream reports align so closely among people who care about each other? Do dreams reveal hidden connections that waking life doesn't show? Or are they simply reflections of shared emotional landscapes? Even without supernatural explanations, shared dreams highlight how deeply intertwined human experiences can be. Right now, the most accurate statement is shared dreams are not scientifically proven, but they are not fully understood either. There is enough consistency in reports across cultures and time to keep the conversation open. And as technology for monitoring the brain improves, it's possible that future research will uncover mechanisms or explanations we currently don't have. Dreams remain one of these understood aspects of consciousness, and whenever science encounters the unexplained, curiosity tends to follow. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you've probably noticed that dreams show up here again and again. They're almost like a recurring character, much like the recurring dreams many of us have. Across previous episodes, we've explored so many corners of the dream world: dream symbolism, lucid dreaming, nightmares, night terrors, cultural interpretations of sleep paralysis, dream communication, and even the idea of worlds that exist just beyond the edges of sleep. Every time we talk about dreams, it becomes clear that they form a universe of their own, one we're only beginning to understand. And if I'm being honest, part of the reason I return to this topic is because I've had my own experiences that make me curious. I've had moments where someone close to me and I dream almost the same scenario on the same night. Not in a way where we met inside the dream or exchange messages, nothing that dramatic, but the themes, the settings, or the sequence of events line up so closely that it left us wondering how something like that could happen. Experiences like these don't prove anything scientifically, but they're enough to make you pause. Do I personally believe that dreams can be shared? Yes, in my own way, I do. Because I think the things we quickly label as coincidences might actually be small hints of possibilities we don't fully understand yet. They don't have to be supernatural. They might simply be parts of the mind or consciousness we haven't learned to measure or explain. And until science catches up, until we have better tools, better data, or better theories, I'm okay staying in the space of curiosity. I'm content observing, speculating, and staying open to the idea that there's more to dreaming than what we currently know. Whether it happens in sleep or in waking life, I don't mind waiting for the next strange or fascinating experience to arrive. As we drift toward the end of this episode, I hope you carry with you a little of the night's wonder. Dreams may be made of memory and imagination, but they also remind us that not everything in life has to be fully mapped or measured to be meaningful. Some things are allowed to stay mysterious. So tonight, when you finally close your eyes, think of the dream world as a kind of quiet in between where your mind rearranges the day, where your emotions take shape, and where strange, delicate possibilities unfold without warning. And who knows, maybe someone you care about will be wandering the dream corridors at the same time. Maybe your stories will almost touch. Maybe you'll wake up with a feeling you can't explain. Whatever dreams come your way, may they be soft, curious, and a little bit enchanted. Thank you for listening, for wandering with me, and for being part of this strange little universe we're building together. Until next time, stay curious, stay wondering.